All right. So today we are playing the second session of 5 for Legacy Life Among the Ruins with a fantasy reskin. My name is Lowell, he, him, and we are here as part of the Gauntlet Hangouts. The Gauntlet Hangouts is an online gaming community. You can find out more about that at gauntlet-rpg.com. Last session was our session 0, in which our players put together their families. They put together their character from that family. They built the world. There's a whole series of things going on with that. In between, Robert was generous enough to go through and sort of annotate and put a set of explanations for what the different legacy locations are, and that has been super helpful. What we're going to do is we're going to start because all of our families are nomadic or scattered, transient. So we need to establish some factions. But before we do that, we're going to do one round of our characters, our players rather, putting some natural features on the map. So I'm going to actually ask for specific features here. And we'll do this for this first round. So let me start with Ari. Ari, we've got this map here. Can you add a body of water somewhere on the map? A lake or the ocean or a series of lakes? Can you give us that? That'll help define it. Do we have a coast?
Sure.
Inland?
Let's put one over on the east side. I'll just draw in the coast there.
Okay, that sounds good.
Might take me a couple moments to draw that out.
Okay, I will give everybody a task once you've kind of said that. Patrick, can you give us some mountains?
Sure.
A range or a set of them, or however you want to do that, something significant. And then Robert, can you give us some kind of large-scale forest somewhere?
Sure.
And then Sherry, can you draw us a river or two?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Nice, Ari.
There we go. Thanks, Lowell. Is that too big, or?
No, I think that's great.
I could push it over to the right a little if we need more space.
Nah, I think we're good.
Okay.
I still like the upside down shining caldera there.
I don't know what that exploding purple thing is, but it's cool looking.
Yes. Patrick is making use of the fact that you can move things to the back eventually. I see what's going on here.
Hoping. Ah, there we go.
Very nice. So we've got a pretty big mountain range there. The spectral pass kind of breaks it. We've got the volcano in that. Very nice.
Yeah, we had the two there, so it seemed a good place to put it. And if we have the pass, then the mountains, I think, should be fairly imposing and hard to get through otherwise.
That sounds right. And then while Robert is adding a body of water and Sherry is adding rivers, or forest rather, and rivers. Ari, I'm going to come back to you. We want to put an NPC faction out here on the table, somewhere located. We want to learn something about them. So, what kind of a faction do you want to add? What kind of location? What kind of place do you think?
If I recall, Terminus helped me drive back some raiders or bandits.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking some sort of local faction that's around either Dagon's Divide or you know what, maybe like between Dagon's Divide and Tower Zyron.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead and put like a little city mark there, so we know this is kind of a more aggressive warlord style faction that's there that has been essentially trying to seize areas.
Okay, hopefully my forest looks okay. I went with the Super Nintendo level of just repeat the same sprite over and over, and it looks
exactly
okay.
Right. I think it's great.
There are no good tools for doing a river, so this is going to be really bad.
You can just do scribble under the line tool.
Okay, scribble you suggest. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see what that does.
That's essentially the freehand tool if you do that with the blue line.
Right. It's just that you don't have any thickness of line, if that makes any sense.
True.
Yeah, I've had some good luck using the curve tool with the line, and then once you place it, you can adjust the thickness.
Okay.
The curve tool. Okay. Well, then let me undo this and try that.
So they probably are on the coast. Do you think they have ships as well?
Yeah, I think they seized the port there.
Okay. They've taken advantage of being able to go out in the ocean. We have these warlords here. What name do you want to give this NPC faction?
Give me just a moment.
Absolutely.
I'll give you that.
Ooh, someone's got a gradient.
Look, I found tools, and now I'm making the most of them.
Oh, nice. And then Patrick, I'm going to come to you next with this faction question.
Oh, like naming faction.
Establishing a faction. So we've got as an NPC faction one that is a super aggressive warlord faction that has both land and sea. Raiders. I don't know if they're more Viking or more Holy Crusade. We'll find out about that when we come to them. But we've got them there. What is the faction that you are adding?
Faction I'm adding is a perfectly angled mountain.
My guys live in this mountain I drew, so I don't have to draw anything more. Feel free to look at the family playbooks that maybe we haven't used if you want some inspiration for kinds of NPC factions we could have.
Yeah, I actually have an idea if Patrick wants more time to think.
Yeah, go for it. I definitely do.
Okay, Robert.
Yeah, I was thinking, because I was looking at the other family playbook, so I looked at the Gilded Company of the Merchants,
okay.
And I think maybe there are some merchants that have kind of set up like a loose, I guess, settlement. It more or less started off as just like a place for them to buy and sell, like almost like a little marketplace. And then, people, our infrastructure grew up around it.
Okay. So where is this Crossroads Trade City at?
I think it's going to be like pretty far southwest, kind of near the Sky Piercer.
Okay.
And yeah, I kind of see it as almost like, in the center of this city is like the original marketplace, and then it just sprawled out from there. Additional buildings and settlements. So it's a very patchwork city.
Okay. Let's have you draw that on there and give us a name. So, military merchants.
So I went with Soldiers of Tantus.
Oh, I like that.
Their leader may be named Tantus.
Sherry, do you want me to drop that river to the back?
Yes, please.
Yo.
There we go. And that one too.
So everybody's got all these names and things. I don't have a name, but I like sort of the idea of the Pioneers of the Depths playbook.
Oh, okay.
But instead of like sea and unknowable depths there, I sort of like this the Mouth of Ash, and the idea of like underground dwellers who pull up like things from the depths of going down in tunnels under there.
Okay. So the Mouth of Ash is a valley where those lights appear. But I think putting an underground place is a good idea. Are they dwarves? Are they something else? Are we going against type? What do you think?
No, we don't have a lot of we didn't get into the like varied species aspect of fantasy much, so let's have some dwarves under there.
Okay. We'll get those names. And then, Sherry, I'm going to come to you for a faction here in just a bit.
So you provided a couple of other family playbooks. Are they in this, or are they
in the spreadsheet? If you go to the Families tab, I've got those, and I can actually let me open those up again.
Sorry, that's cool that they're there.
Yeah.
I'm super fighting a really difficult cat today.
Do you need me to get her out of there?
I don't think you have.
The gloves.
gloves enough.
The
Yeah,
protective gloves.
she is very. Hmm.
All right, I have the Dwaran dwarves
Okay.
down.
Is it by that valley then?
Yeah, I think there's the valley is like the only known entrances and exits to this tunnel network that goes underneath.
I
there.
may X card that because the Mouth of Ash is one of the threats that we have on the table. And so I think we might want to pull that away from there just to have another settlement that we can interact with outside the threats. Does that seem reasonable?
Patrick, it could be like a network of tunnels that extends and maybe meets the Mouth of Ash at some point.
Yeah, like a dangerous end of their territory they can't get back into or something like that. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Like Dragon Age. We've lost the underworld.
Okay, because I was so stressed out with the river making, I can't say that I was listening particularly closely to other people's coalition or things. Can I do the coalition?
Yeah.
And would that be okay if I did elves, or do we have elves elsewhere?
I don't think we've put any elves explicitly on the table.
All right, I think instead of scattered elves, a group that really doesn't like the splits between them has had to kind of band together because a lot of their lands are done. So there's a last outpost, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Where is that going to be located?
Now, why do you, the stupid map tools, my bane. Oh, I think it has to be by the forest, doesn't it?
That is appropriate.
Everything's angles today. That's apparently my move.
It makes sense. You're gonna do Dutch angles for all your stuff.
All right, so I like that idea of like a tunnel of networks that sort of runs that area between the Mouth of Ash and the Tower of Xiron. And that Mouth of Ash end is like their dangerous Mines of Moria they can't get back to sort of territory.
I like that very much. And Tower of Xiron is that sort of fallen tower of alchemical miracles. Kingdom of Paupers.
Yeah, I went with the Kingdom of Paupers for the merchant organization down there because I think it just started up as some of the poor people who just happened to have stuff after the fall and started to sell stuff. So then when they built up some settlement down there, like to them, that was basically a kingdom.
Okay. So we're going to end up with 4 major NPC factions. We'll figure out about their needs and surpluses and all that later on. But for the moment, these are the if not necessarily the largest, but they're the most visible and active of the NPC factions that are out there, meaning that they're the ones that, given the scattered nature or dispersed nature or even nomadic nature, that your families interact with. Sherry, what do you want to call your little elvish kingdom?
The Compromise of Manners.
Okay.
And that's really a halo of mist that sits over part of the plains and part of the forest that sort of demarcates where the settlement boundaries are.
Okay.
It would be incorrect to call it a city precisely.
All right. So we are going to go ahead and move to play. And there are a couple of ways to do the start of this. I want to lay out what the threats are, what's sort of currently going on. They may be bubbling or they may be rising up to the surface at this point. I'm going to focus in after I get you a chance to tell me sort of what your families are doing. Maybe we'll do a family move. We're probably going to focus in on one of those with a lead character and hopefully at least one other PC, and then maybe some quick characters so we get a sense of what's going on with that. We may have some family moves before that. The book suggests like having all the characters together working on everybody's role moves in one thing, which seems interesting, but also, given the diversity of the role moves, a little challenging. So we are going to kind of move through that. One of our goals is to set things up and knock them down. Things can get dealt with quickly or slowly. So right now, what we have on the table is there are 4 threats that were established in the course of our original work. One of these is the threat that the envoys have recognized. They don't understand what it means, but they know that at the mouth of Ash, there are a set of lights, there are a set of glows in the sky, things like that, that there is some worry about what that means. If it is some force from the stars, given that so much of the magics and even the intrusion into this world has come from the sky, those astrological signs, things like that. Is the mouth of Ash an actual, direct threat, or is it just our harbinger? We don't know. But that is one of the threats that is out there. The lawgivers have seen what seems to be a symptom or a warning sign of some threat to come. The Death Broker's demise, essentially a caravan of people that seem to be headed towards the monster spawning point, the jeweled spawn. They were headed there. Why? Still unclear. But they're all dead. They didn't even make it there. Something killed them. Something destroyed that caravan. The lawgivers have seen that, and they don't understand what has happened and what that might augur for the future. For the masquerade's threat is a more dispersed one that has begun to reach into all of the corners of the land. It is this new drug that removes desire. Did we give that a name, Patrick?
I think Melek is the name of the drug.
That's right. Oh yeah, good.
That's why they have the mines there.
Right. Thank you. And it is suspected that it is manufactured by whom we don't know yet. There at the mines of Melek and being distributed out in various places. And then finally, right now, there has been essentially the appearance of another spawn of these great monsters, and in particular activity at the nest at Humath. There is a great winged beast that has emerged at Humath and has taken up place there and settled in most unusually. And from there, it essentially represents a significant threat. And probably there are other signs and symptoms. Is the thing itself a threat, or is what else is happening the threat? We don't know. So let me come to around. I'm going to kind of do that same order. Tell me, Ari. Let's start with you. Tell us what is your family up to at this moment? What is key for the keepers of the Ember there? What is it they're looking for?
Oh, the keepers of the Ember are hoping to find a way to either make peace with the soldiers of Tantus, part of the family. The other part of the family wants to drive them out and take the port back because it once belonged to us.
Mm-hmm.
And if we want to get back on our feet in this new age of rebuilding, having that port is very important for commerce and communication.
So, do you think? I mean, is that a struggle that's going on inside, or has one path been chosen between those two things?
I think right now it's an internal struggle over what approach to take.
And so, where does Amaranth fall in this? What does he believe?
Amaranth, he probably is most interested in staying out of these family affairs and finding out what's going on at the nest of Humath.
Okay.
But somebody in the family is going to probably press him to deal with the leader of the soldiers of Tantus to maybe just take them out to end this whole discussion.
Okay.
It's got a private level discussion. Just go get it done. No questions asked. And then, you'll be rewarded for that.
So it sounds to me, though, that your family is going through some infighting, is how you've described it.
Yes.
So why don't we have you go ahead and roll with your mood for the hold together. Your mood's going to be -1 because you have one more need than you have surplus.
Do you mind giving me the dice rolling link?
Yeah, let me find that. Here we go. Copy. Vigorously valued dodo. There you go. So even as Amaranth looks on, there's a battle between the more aggressive factions and the more diplomatic factions. Do you think is there an age difference in terms of the split between those factions?
Between
like who is looking to go to war and who is looking to do diplomacy?
Oh, I see. Probably gonna have to give some names in a moment. One.
No, you don't have to give names. I just want to know what the split is. Is it along?
This is actually a very long-standing divide within the family, going back before the downfall. There were those who wanted to listen to the message from the beyond, who are kind of more, I don't know where their minds are at right now, but they kind of want to listen to messages from the beyond. And then those who rejected that and thought that the messages from beyond are sort of nefarious and they're causing destruction.
Okay.
And so that same sort of mentality is continuing, people are falling along those two lines.
All right. Let's see what your hold together move gives you.
All right. So I need to get some dice up here. 3. Oops. It's not letting me. Oh, here we go. 3d6. And then that is going to be affected by
mood, which will be a -1.
-1. Okay. Oh, sorry. I accidentally. Hold on. Let me just delete that and do it again.
Sure.
Roll 3 dice. Delete. 2d6. Oh, wow. It's a bad start. I rolled a pair of ones, but -1. It's a single.
All right. So this particular strife has split your people, and I think that one of the things that has happened is that in the course of this discussion, they're at the soldiers of Tantus, that at some point, the fact that your group, as dispersed as it is, has started to talk about perhaps being aggressive against Tantus, that that the people of Tantus, the warlords there, have grabbed a number of members of the Enclave and strung them up. And let me give this. Let me find the thing with the surpluses and so on, because there's a particular page in here. And I think that I've already got a good deal of those things. I think that you will gain the need justice. That essentially those warlords have begun to persecute your people. That they believe that you are dangerous, and essentially you've got a serious problem there.
Okay, cool.
Let's come to next are the Silver Tongues. What is the current disposition of the Silver Tongues? What is it that they're working on now? Your family is dispersed as well, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what is going on amongst that sort of loose structure of your family?
So, sort of pulled from like recent history with the Spears of Antaeus, Sherry's group, and like moves I have, but the Spears were like that one close other family alliance that we had. We're actually like working in tandem, not just willing to tolerate each other, sort of thing. And we abandoned them on a big monster hunt. Like we totally failed them. I think that was fairly recently, and so I think Kanta is pushing that now that there's this new threat, at the nest at Humath, that we need to step up. We need to go to the Spears and offer them our aid again and actually follow through. We need to like save our family's reputation by fixing this.
So that sounds like conduct diplomacy.
Yeah. Family moves. Yeah.
And do you imagine that it is Kanta that is sent to do this? Or at least
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're really behind this push to fix things with the family, rather than just, okay, let's just go back to training them and being their ritual masters and not get involved in battles anymore. I think Kanta wants a closer relationship.
So are you looking to meet with the leadership? Are you looking to access to a place, or are you looking for information?
I think information.
Okay.
I want to know what they know first, because then that may help me uncover some things they haven't figured out yet.
Let's have you roll with reach then.
Let's see. Is that my good one? I think it's my good one. It is my good one. Oh, let's see. Whew. 6 + 2 is 8, though.
Okay. So you are going to get what you wanted, and you're going to get one secret that you can use for future. But you did have to have some of the someone else assist you to get in there, to speak on your behalf, to make good for that previous betrayal? Who would what faction would that have been?
It's definitely not the crows if they're speaking well of me. So it must have been the enclave.
Does that seem right to you, Ari?
Yeah, that sounds good. Sorry, I had to unmute myself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you will give one treaty to the Ember Keepers, and then Sherry.
Uh-oh.
Are you there?
I am. I apologize. I was just having
Okay.
some toast. What's up?
So the masquerade, the silver tongues come to speak and try and get back into the good graces of your family. They speak well, and they are looking for information on an opportunity or the threat that's upcoming. What does your family share with them? What do you tell them?
What kind of secret do they want?
Well, so this is in relation to the whatever the last great beast hunt they were on with you, where they ran away and left your soldiers there to deal with it. So Kanta had heard rumors about the whatever the I've lost words and the map. The nest at Humath. That there was some like beast up there, and figured that would be on your family's mind. But it's very much an open thing of, what is your biggest threat? What is your biggest problem right now? We can help you with it.
Let's see here. Well, definitely that's what is on the family as a whole's mind is. One of the problems, though, I suppose the secret of the problem, though, is that we are up there and we've found that we aren't the only people moving around trying to get information on this beast. There have been a bunch of elves up there, too, and we don't know what the compromise is doing up there.
Mm.
Does that seem like a reasonable thing?
Yeah. What do you know about the beast, like physically?
Oh, what do we
what sort
know?
of thing is it?
Okay, so it is, it was probably from a condor type of creature, a large, massive water bird. But of course, since it's been, it's had the crystals, like it's gone into the maw and come out, it has changed a lot. One of the things that it's gotten is it has a sack where it carries like water, but the water has a sort of it can spit that, and it's very sticky and stuff. It seems to like it carries the water with it instead of being a fishing bird anymore, and can turn anything into its prey. The other thing about it is that it has a lot of like the other condors have flown inland towards it and are getting bigger as they're around it, and they're breeding a lot. So there's a sort of frenzy that follows around one of these ancient ones. So I guess, is that the kind of thing you want?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So essentially what it is we've got these huge birds that are getting bigger. They have a strange hunting mode. And they just cause like the whole ecosystem of that creature to sort of explode.
Cool. Then I think that's definitely enough, like sort of general shape of what it is and the elves' involvement. Can I do a follow-up move here with my Plenty's Bestiary?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. You've got that available.
So is it actually Oh God, names. Is it actually Salvo that meets with Kanta, or is it like your lore keepers, or who is it?
Well, Savo has definitely been out there researching, so I have no doubt.
I'm going to stop you here. I want to put a pin in that. I want that when we zoom in, I want that to be the start of the zoom. Is that okay?
Ooh, cool. Yeah.
Because I think we can get at least 2, maybe 3 characters in on this when we zoom in. Does that seem okay?
Yeah, much smarter.
Okay.
Yeah, and I apologize. The cat wants to get into the box with the mic. That's the whole source of the problem.
Robert, what's number 1 right now on the lawgiver's agenda?
I think right now, like that's part of the trouble is figuring out what truly is number 1, because I feel like there's a lot of things going on for them to be investigating. I think, probably the biggest thing is the Death Broker's demise. I think a lot of people are starting a lot of rumors that it was some sort of mass murder, or that they were just robbed, that they were taken. Something happened there, and I think I don't know that we've heard of any survivors or anybody from that incident, but I think some of their family has come to the law broker or the lawgivers to sort of ask us to do something about it.
So is that sort of what's going on? Is your family, and maybe in particular Terminus, are kind of looking to pick up the rumors on what's happening?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of that, and then also sort of internal to the family, trying to figure out, should we be dealing with that? I think there's also stuff coming in about the soldiers of Tantus starting up some crime, also because the Crows previously sort of helped out fighting them off or dealing with them. So there's probably some internal struggle too of, should we let that go? Should we investigate, these people who were on their way to doom anyway, or what should we do?
So do you think that this is a civilized land? Do you think that that's sort of what you're doing, is starting to patrol around?
Yeah, I think so.
So I think what you will hear as you kind of go to the areas, find out where these people were drawn from, try to find out what's going on. I guess we get a montage of your crows, in the shadows of various places, various settlements and things. Where did these people come from? And you will find that they were drawn from around all over the land, and that there was a leader for this group named Karamoth. And he essentially was a cult leader, a kind of a prophet, that kind of thing, and gathered these people together, looked for the people who were easy to sway, the people on the margins, drew them together in this caravan with a promise of a great discovery. But the thing that you will hear when that the rumors that are coming sort of in the immediate aftermath, in the months after that, is there have been attacks by the undead around in the areas. And they speak of a leader for this undead, and they use the word lich. And there are people that are suggesting that perhaps this Karamoth himself, or in service to someone or something else, sacrifice these people to empower some necromantic magic. Does that seem fair?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think let's give you a secrets for that. All right. Order of the Titan. Our skinners here, or as they prefer to be called, the Spears of Antaeus. Antaeus, is it time for the Kaiju threat alert?
Yeah, I think it is actually.
Okay. So what is the thing that is threatening? Is it that condor at the tower? Is that the big thing?
Yeah, it is, because essentially it has, because life for many of the people is along those rivers and stuff, and the condors coming up from the seas are traveling along. I mean, they still fly along the waterways. And so for most of the people, they're all living along what is now going to be that monstrous territory.
Okay.
And if that makes any sense.
So that's definitely the danger in the world. That is an omen of an incoming assault. Which families does it threaten? Does it threaten everyone here because of their scattered nature, or does it affect particular ones?
So that's a good question, because of course the poppers are down south, so they might be less affected. The soldiers definitely would be. I think the dwarves wouldn't think they were. The compromise of manners would be in for a lot of trouble as well. So those are the two that would definitely get hit. And of course the nomadic groups, because that's how they travel, is along the waterways. Right.
So you would say the other three PC factions then?
Sure.
You say that sure with a certain degree of uncertainty.
Well, I always am uncertain with the crows, because they're everywhere. They're with everyone, but they're caught in. And whether they consider the threat to the people that they're staying with a threat to them as a whole, I am always uncertain of. Does that make any sense?
What do you think, Robert?
Yeah, I think they would probably consider it a threat, because to them, they're concerned about the people that they're in with, because they're trying to, uphold society and protect people in general. So whether it's, some crime boss moving in or a large beast causing a ton of trouble, either way, there's people to protect.
What is the thing that the Spears of Antaeus fear? I mean, they've seen this beast. They've seen this condor that is carrying the water, that is doing this transformation, and these other ones are gathering. What is it that the Spears predict is going to happen if this is unchecked? What is the fallout?
The fallout is twofold. The first thing is that we'll have a lot of these monsters, and they're particularly difficult to take care of, because they're flyers, right? So that requires special equipment. Not everyone's adapted for that and those things. But the other thing is that the rate of change with this situation has been frightening, and it is giving cover. It could be giving cover to any number of other similar monsters happening just beyond this, because we're dealing with this, because you have to keep your head low when you're around there and everything. It's actually much harder to move around and look past the mountains, because you can't get there without being, how do you say, you are easy pickings to these birds when you are up along the mountains, moving along the passes in very set ways and things like that.
So I think this is a good point for us to, yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I think this is a good point for us to zoom in to the character level here.
Okay.
And let me talk about what that means. You've got, your role is you've marked and hold one when you search the wasteland for a solution to family problems. So that's what's going on now. We have that Kanta has arrived, so we can do that interaction. Kanta has a move to assist on that with Salvo. And then the other one that seems to me that we can rope in PC wise is your character Ari, because I believe that Amaranth their role is regarding a beast, right?
Yeah, hunter. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So maybe you've also arrived on site, so we can do a scene with there. Now let's come to Terminus. Terminus, you have a choice, Robert. You can make up a quick character drawn from the Order of Titan to kind of be in the part of these scenes that are about to come up. Or if you want to say that Terminus is in with this, you can do that. If Terminus is not, then you still get to play the quick character. And then when we come out of the Zoom, you're going to get a benefit for what has happened in the time that has passed.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and roll up a quick character.
Okay. So head over to Sherry's sheet, and you'll choose a relationship. You'll choose a role, and you'll choose an inherited move. And you get some very basic stats. So let's do the scene with the PCs, and then we'll fold in Robert's character, and let's zoom. Tell us where we would find ourselves, Salvo. If Salvo is meeting with Kanta and meeting with Amaranth, and there's some of the other hunters around, what is the scene that we see?
I think that Thrice Folly is like the standard, like almost staging area. You certainly wouldn't do defenses out of this, but everyone knows where it's at. It gives you a lot of different places you could choose to go to. And there is standard basic shelter there.
And what does Salvo look like?
So Salvo is I want to say she wears sort of leathers, but I mean very pridefully, because they're taken from those monsters and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And these have clearly been made roughly and then over time decorated and refined. So clearly, like when they get the leathers and they make them into armor as soon as possible, and then they keep working on the armor after it's been made, working on it so that it fits better, working on it so that it they can decorate it with other trophies. It's not like they're that the clothing is like brightly colored. It's just very worked.
Okay.
If that makes any sense, softened like around where it fits in closer to the waist. You can see it's been rubbed and pierced and drawn together with threads and things like that. So it's sort of, even though it doesn't have a ton of different color, it has a lot of detail to it, and it fits like how she moves.
And if we see in this scene this kind of very rough shelter here, we see the evidence of the past ruined fantastic civilizations in the backdrop. What do we see of Kanta? What does Kanta look like?
So Kanta is tall and fairly thin, but completely covered except for like their eyes. They're dressed in fine stitched and embroidered silks with like swirling sort of fractal arcane patterns going along them. If you could see inside of them, they're like old and painstakingly maintained and patched and held together, but from the outside they're like shining and perfectly cleaned. And then the mask that they're wearing, it's alabaster. It covers their hair as well. There's like, you can't see any part of their skin. Like I said, it just shows their eyes, and it's a fairly like serious expression with an open mouth.
And in the scene also, we will see Amaranth. Amaranth, you've come here because of this hunt, because of the nature of this beast. We'll come back to what that means in a moment when you talk to the others. But what does Amaranth look like? I know that it's an older character.
Yeah, sort of a low bent figure, seated on this ancient boulder that may have been some sort of structural support at some point. Kind of just sitting cross-legged, almost like in a meditative pose, with this great bow laid out across his lap, and eyes are very small, piercing. When he looks at you, you can almost feel like he's looking past you and kind of keeping his senses about him in case there's any sort of threat or there's any sign of passage or tracks or spoor of whatever he's hunting. So he's kind of here in the present, but you can also sense that he's elsewhere as well.
Okay. And then Robert, your character's name is Vaunt. Who are they and what's their role within the Order of Titan?
I think Vaunt is maybe an older person within the Order of the Titan, and I think kind of has moved on beyond like being able to fight, and is more of like a teacher role, or just like a very knowledgeable person. Has kind of lived out his life studying great beasts. So that's why I also took Monster Empath as the inheritance move.
Nice.
So I think he's good at watching these beasts and studying them and knowing things about them.
Perfect. So let's come back, because I put a pin in it. Let's come back to your particular move, Kanta, and then let's do that scene.
Yeah. So let's see. The Pliny's Bestiary is the move I was wanting to move into, as well as I think I'm going to try and roll in the voice of the icons, just do it all at once.
Okay.
But what this looks like is we're there in the meeting. Salvo has shared the information that the spears have about this gigantic beast, this bird, and these rumors of like the elves' involvement, and Kanto, dang it, Kanta starts to tell this story. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with it at first. But they start talking about the first great legendary storied hunt of the spears, the first behemoth hunt that sort of made their name in the homelands, and how it was this I think like a wolf-like creature out in the woods, grown huge and unrecognizable, calling a pack around it. And how the heroes of the spear, they tracked it, they hunted it, but the way that they were eventually able to overcome it was finding out the secrets of its nature, finding that it was not just the energies of the fall that had caused this thing to rise up, but that there was a sorcerer, a binder of beasts behind it. And they found this magical rune etched into the prime beast and all of its spawn. And I think as they're going through and telling this tale, the attendants that had come behind me, because I have what do I have, sages as a tool up. So they're not particularly exciting, but I think they sort of start to form this like Greek chorus behind Kanta. They have masks of their own, and their additions become become this sort of like buzzing, low-pitched drone, where everything starts to become a little hazy, a little like desert mirage-y, as Kanta's voice starts to conjure up these images, these sort of half-formed phantoms in the air, and you see these like sort of puppet illusion show of these great heroes bringing down this beast, and there's the like little symbol floating above its back, and as a dramatic sort of shouted in point, Kanta holds up this this like, I think like 5-foot wing of a bird, that the family, the Silver Tongues, had managed to, Kanta says, break down. Maybe they just found it dead somewhere. But who can say? But it has this sigil etched in the side of it, sort of burning in glowing light. And they say, look, it has happened here again. Someone brings this misery on us. This is not just the will of the homelands or the will of the gods. This is intentional work.
So you get to pick 3 from Pliny's Bestiary, things that you're going to say are true. One of them is not.
So my first one is where it came from, or what first caused it. That someone, an individual, has taken this spell and applied it to this condor, which is now spreading out. If the elves are involved, like the spears say they are, then it's obviously one of them. So that's the first one. I think what makes it wondrous or fascinating is that the few stories that we've heard about people that have seen the prime behemoth and gotten away are that it's up there in the spectral pass, and as the winds and the storms sing and whirl and whine through the pass, you can see the prime condor like up wings spread up at the top and crying out this like echoing harmony to the strange songs that are whipping through the pass.
Okay.
I'm sorry, so it's responding to the music?
Yeah, it's like harmonizing with it and creating this song to go along with the music. I think what makes it so difficult to directly observe is that it is calling up this constant storm around it, or at least that there has been a constant storm, and we attribute that to the beast thus far. Could just be bad weather, who knows? But yes, so 2 of those are definitely true, and one of them is false.
Absolutely.
So anytime someone tries to use one of those facts against the beast, you can roll with advantage if we find out in the moment that was one of the true facts, or roll with disadvantage if we find out in the moment that was one of the false facts. Okay. And then also my voice of the icons, when you tell a community stories about their champions, you can grant a character a new role of your choice. So I think this is telling the story of that great hunt of the spears. It may not be what they view as their first hunt, but it's the one that the homelands remember. And I would offer to you, Salvo, the role of anti-hero. A terrible threat must be confronted. Should you choose to take this role, then when you draw first blood against the beast, you can add 1 to your sway or steal. But the GM will say what you have to sacrifice in order to overcome it.
Huh. Okay, sure. I'll go with it.
Okay. So let's what is your response, Salvo, to this presentation? These traders have come back and offered you this info?
Yeah, I think her reaction is, as sort of whole body rejection that these monsters are created by someone here. Does that make any sense? That it's like one of the surviving peoples is generating those. To her, they're too powerful and too elemental to be something that all these people, because truthfully, when she looks around at other people, they are all of insignificant power, and you know what I mean, compared to the great behemoths. That is, they are a great working, and this does not seem to be a thing that is within the power of people as she knows them. It would take teams of people, and she knows of no one like that. There.
And
Does
we'll
that
come
make
back
any
to.
sense? Is that what I was
Yeah.
supposed to say?
Yeah,
Okay.
no. We'll come back to we'll focus in on the sort of interaction, the conversation between all of you in a second. But I want to get, what is Amaranth's reaction? You've witnessed this. Does this fit in with what you've been seeing? Why have you come? What is the thing of your role that's drawing you?
Yeah, at this point, I'm kind of resigned to doing this thing. The council of our people kind of just barely passed this, decree, I guess, to take care of this thing and to assist with that. So I'm just looking for signs of this creature at this point. The song affirms some of the things that I was maybe unsure of in terms of what this thing is, but I'm still looking for more.
What is it that with the prophet, when you hunt for mystic or symbolic beast in order to change the world in mysterious and subtle ways, what is it that you believe is important about this particular beast?
Probably since I was sent out to deal with it, it has very important alchemical properties that if we take it down, organs or maybe something else like a bezor, in its belly, could be any number of those sort of things that I'm trying to gather and bring back. But as you know, my family is kind of divided right now. The more dominant view is that this creature was sent down by, it's like a sign from above, from the stars, that it shouldn't be dealt with, it shouldn't be harmed, that we should find out what it wants to say. But the part of the council that won out is the one that wants me to take it out. So I'm even conflicted myself about what I need to do, but that's my job, to take it out, get its organs and things and bring it back.
So Salvo, you are there with Vaunt, a scholar, and you have this presentation that Hunter has come, that you've met before, also wants to be part of this. So what is it that you say?
I welcome the story, because I always do, because I love them and that sort of thing. And I say to everyone, the only things that we can act on are what we can observe. So let us go and find out the secrets of this creature. We know of the storms. We know of the song. And she sort of stops and says, if there are other reasons or purposes, we will certainly discover those as we investigate.
Vaunt, do you support Salvo in this?
Yeah, I think Vaunt would be along the same lines of, cool story, but
Cool story, bro.
Yeah, we need to go just look at this ourselves. Everybody likes a good story, but we just need to go and observe it, and it's just like a puzzle to be solved, kind of, to Vaunt.
Awesome. Then I think we've kind of got set up for a group that is heading out. We will take a break here. When we come back, we'll do any tool ups that we need to do. and then we will roll into the horrible cost of traveling across the wasteland.
Real quick, Lowell.
Yeah.
Sherry, do you think Salvo would accept that anti-hero role? Sort of sounds like you did.
Yeah, in the sense of at least that she's going to be reacting very strongly to that idea that someone here is doing it. So I assume that, yes, she could be quite destructive.
So it has that built-in thing for how you can get a plus to sway or steal, but it doesn't actually say in the playbook or the Engine of Life book, Lowell. It calls this a new role for a character. Would that trigger the normal things of when you move into a new role?
So here is what it is when she draws first blood, she'll be able to mark this, and her advance will be to sway or steal. Essentially, it is a role that gives a limited advance rather than a full advance.
Gotcha.
On that.
Cool. That was what I was curious about then.
That's how I'm going to play it. Let's take to the 30-minute mark, and then we will come back.
So I somehow completely didn't realize that we'd be rolling quick characters under other people's families, and that's really cool.
Yeah, we actually did a bunch of scenes last time where it was just one PC and 3 new quick characters.
It's
Some
one
of
of the
those-
coolest pieces of tech in the game.
So when you tool up, which is when we zoom in, when we go to do this, you can be equipped with any of your family's assets, customized to suit your circumstances. For each of your surpluses, you pick a relevant benefit. You add a tag to a piece of gear. You get as many copies of a weapon, outfit, or vehicle as needed. Add 1 to the quality of a set of followers for the mission, or get a new set with 1 quality, or get scouts reports worth 1 data, which means 1 secrets. So let's look at that. What is the gear available to your family, Sherry?
That's a good question. I have a thing is when I tool up, I gain a relic. But let me look at my family notebook. Sorry.
It's down at the bottom in the like character benefit. How do you fight that range?
So silent snipers, carving blades, explosive launchers.
Carving blades.
Okay. How are you defended? Beast climbing gear, hardened armor, a bright halo.
Beast climbing gear.
Okay. And how do you travel?
The wyverns.
Wyverns. Okay. So you can add qualities to those. You can bring your companions. If you want, like your scouts, you can increase their quality. You can get data, which would be secrets for your family. And both Ari, you, and Pat also get to do that because we're zooming in on a scene with your characters.
Yep. I have my cutting words is my weapon. I have my psychic stitch silks, which actually have the mantle tag, so the like I can protect other people around me.
Okay.
We have our sages, who I'm going to use character add-on to give them quality 2 and worldly advice and meteorology as their specialties.
Okay.
And then I have my mask, and I'm going to add the far-seeing tag to it.
Ooh, nice. And then what about for Amaranth?
Oh, I'm sorry, Lowell. I'm looking for where we're looking at here.
Oh, so you have on your sheet the you have the arcane pulses from your hands, so that's the weapon that you have when you gear up. You've got that mantle of energy. This is under how are you defended.
Okay, gotcha.
You've also got the wyverns. Do you have scholars with you or not?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then you've got a couple of picks. You could add a tag onto the gear. You could get yourself some data. What would you like to do?
What are the tags that I can add?
You can add any kind of tag you want. Essentially, tell us something else that's added to your weapon or your defense there.
How about like something for precision with the bow?
All right.
Precise.
So, yeah, I like that.
And Amaranth's playbook gives him a free one on a weapon.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool. Let's see. Is there something for like throwing blades?
Yeah. And my suggestion is, if you can't decide on other things, taking secrets for your family is always a good pick too, because it's a spendable resource.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
It's a good call.
Because you can use that to gain advantage on a roll.
Okay.
Oh yeah, my other pick was secrets as well.
Okay. Sherry, what is it that you want to do? You have your armor, you've got your carving blades, your beast climbing gear.
Hmm.
You've also got a relic that you can use. So what is it that you want to do? Do you want more secrets?
So if I get like scouts +1, does that mean that they'll be more effective when we need them to act? Or is it just that
Yes,
they're there after? Okay.
They're
So
quality 2 and they're effective for that. Yeah.
okay, so yeah, I guess I would do that because this is a heavy duty scouting thing. And then I get a relic, right?
Yeah.
Do I have-
You have some kind of relic with you. What generally does it look like?
Think of it like a net gun.
Okay.
Okay. With essentially, when we tested it, it did a sort of a lightning field is what we called it, but it was stunning.
So you've got this. They've made this net gun with a kind of a magical lightning net that they've got there. That's what you hope it will do. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you gather together. You have a group of scouts with you, and are your sages following along with you as well in this expedition?
Yeah, they look incredibly uncomfortable, but Kanta keeps giving them like very rousing speeches at night, which seem to like re-bolster their resolve, which looks very thin in the morning again.
Okay. Then we will see then the group heading out from the Thrice Folly, following the river up to Spectral Pass. And we're going to start with Salvo. Salvo, you need to navigate through the wasteland.
Okay.
And you are going to roll steel.
Okay. So that is 9 + 1 is a 10.
Okay. So if you look at Wasteland Survival under the basic moves.
Okay.
Or sorry, the basic moves.
Basic moves, Wasteland Survival. Okay.
You hit, so you pick one of those things.
Okay. Well, that's great. How about an obstacle or threat is blocking our way?
Okay. And on a 10, pick one.
I can discover a secret path I can use to take this route without triggering this move for what future?
Yeah.
Would be the thing.
What is the secret route that you've found for the future?
For the future, I think that when one of the things that we find is that running along the river, there is an old, sort of like it must have been an underground river at some point, but it's been refitted like way back in the time. And so now there's we find that there's a big long expanse of this where there's a tunnel that runs under the river that we could
Maybe
have.
old dwarven constructions.
Exactly.
And so you have gotten through along the river. You've moved through these tunnels and have emerged, and you are closer than to the Spectral Pass and the city that is there in that great web. However, to move forward, what you will see is that there is another great beast on the ground. It looks like it's a hyena or a jackal of some kind, essentially a scavenger land beast that seems to be patrolling around in here because bones and things fall down. The scraps that come down from the airy, it seems to be feeding on. But it is, 14 hands at the shoulder with a great slavering jaws. And it looks like you're going to have to figure out how to get past it to be able to get to the airy.
If only we'd use the underground thing. Okay, so
Certainly don't want to fly your wyverns around here because that will attract.
Exactly. It just looks like delicious food to them. Okay, so
we go to play. What do you do?
Okay, so essentially, I assume that it's still small compared to the great elder beast, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so my guess is if we could make it think that the elder beast was coming, that it would run away, right? So
that seems like a possibility.
Okay, so essentially the thing would be to mimic those sounds or those or the shadow or something like that.
Okay. So it sounds to me, and if anybody else has moves that will trigger at this point, go ahead and say, but it sounds to me like you're trying to diffuse the situation.
Yes.
Through misdirection.
Oh boy, that's probably not good. Let's see here. Yeah.
And take a look at the diffuse move. Tell me if you think.
No, that actually, I think you're right. Fast talking and misdirection. Sway is good.
Okay. Then tell me what it is you do. Is it that you have your scouts go and set something up? Is it that you have some tools for this? What do you think?
I think that we probably do have call tools, like doing calls and that kind of thing is fairly standard. And so essentially what it is that we have to take the call that we use that makes the sound of the lesser condors and carve it up so that it makes that deeper, more resonant sound to mimic the greater one. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's actually a little bit of testing and then trying that to see if we can get that reaction from it.
Let us have you roll with sway.
Okay. Don't like rolling, but okay. Let's see here.
So this is still a diffuse roll, is that right?
Yeah, she's going to do her diffuse roll, and then if she fails, she can call for aid.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay, I'm going to reselect my dice. Okay, so I get a 7.
Okay. So on a 7 to 9, you've bought some time, but you have to choose a result now. If that isn't as good as you want, you could call for aid, and if they succeed, they can boost that result up a level. It's not a +1. It's actually it bumps it up a success level.
What happens with the call for now? What is the price of call for aid?
Say what another character nearby can do to boost your efforts. If the group agrees, helper says how they do it and rolls the appropriate stat. If they have an appropriate backstory with you, they take advantage.
I'm going to say something. I think that actually it's appropriate to have a 7 result and say the danger will soon return. I think it will soon return, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to go with this and not ask for aid in this. It is essentially, I chose a temporary solution.
So this jackal, this carrion beast, moves off to go undercover because it thinks that the great condor. Do you have a name for this condor beast?
Let's see here. Dang it! Why do you ask for a name in the middle of a description? That's unfair.
It's made of unfair.
It is. I think that it's named after essentially the symbols for it, because for the bird, so it's been like sort of broken down to its grammar, because we don't know its name, but it's also so huge and elemental that so it's like tall, wah, and essentially which would be the characters for the bird type, but since it's been broken down like that, it's like calling a cat CAT.
Okay.
Okay, it's kind of does that make any sense?
I'm still keeping calling it condor, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but the symbols of it. So
Okay. So yeah. Let's come around. Patrick, you were the one who came up with this pass in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as the group of you, and there's maybe a half a dozen scouts, there's some of your sages. So this is not a small party that you have. As you're moving through here, tell me what you see on the ground level. From here, what do we see? What do the buildings look like on the street level and so on?
So I think down here on the ground level, there wasn't much of the civilization, but what we do see are from the pathways and bridges and metal constructions and everything that was above that's now twisted and spiraled. Parts of it like melted and dripped down. So they look almost like stalactites and stalagmites, but they're like the ones that are falling are sort of like frozen water drops in sort of mid-fall, and there's just these like pools of melted and then hardened glass and metal everywhere. So
like crystalline lava flow.
Yeah.
Okay. Robert, as you move through here and you're looking up, we've described that there's a patchwork, a web work of these things crisscrossing it. There's the area is the tallest of these towers. Up above, you probably can see the silhouette of some of the smaller of these condors. They've become enlarged by the presence of the big one, but they're still smaller. Tell me something about the lattice connections across this place.
I think there's probably, because of the way the birds hunt, and I think they bring back some of their prey here. I think there's probably like carcasses sort of hanging, and from that lattice work, there's bits and pieces of bone, so you have the glass and metal going across, and then on top of that, in some places you even have just bone dangling across and half-eaten carcasses hanging from it.
And we've talked about that wind that is surrounding the storm that is surrounding this thing. So I imagine there is a wind up there. So it's like grisly wind chimes as the bones bang against each other up there. The sound of the flapping that carries is this eerie sound that echoes through this valley. A combination of physical sound and also the howls of their souls and the dead hanging around in this place. Let me ask you, Ari, what is at the base when you get up moving through here? What is at the base of the great tower, this Ari? Just realized it's Ari. Sorry.
They sound close.
So what is the when your group reaches there, what is it you see?
I think that a lot of the things that there's like nests and stuff above, I think a lot of the nesting material would have dropped down. Feathers have carpeted the path. I think that the glass towers have bird droppings, so like it's this beautiful structure, and then you have these nasty sort of like parts that you can't see through, and this is collected down at the bottom as well and kind of hardened. There may even be a new ecosystem that's growing out of this, because these birds are so huge. There might be small vermin and insects and things like that that are forming colonies in this stuff that we're trying to go through.
I like that. That sounds good. You have reached the bottom of this place. I haven't heard from Amaranth. I want to hear what his take on how this should go, and then I want to come back to Salvo and then kind of roll around to see. I
think that Amaranth is really interested in the leavings of these birds, because you get a lot of information from studying that. So he's kind of bent down and looking at like what they were eating, what's the color and things like that, to try to get information off of that.
Okay. So is that your hunter's lore then, you think?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for.
Let's go ahead and have you roll with lore.
Okay, so lore, I've got 1 in lore. Let's see what I get here. I'm not doing well. That's a total of a 4.
Now, you could ask for assistance.
I think I'm going to do that. My youth, I've resisted the songs that what is it? Canta Silver Tongues. I've been skeptical of this music because you've drawn away so many of our youth, and there are some in our family that believe that these songs are corrupting our society. But after your revelation in the last time you sang for us, I started to believe that there is really some power in that. So I ask you if you could help elucidate the meaning of, the signs of these birds through your music to give us something.
Ooh. Kanta, do you want to help?
Yes, I was simply waiting for someone to ask. You all seemed very competent and sure of what's going on, but yes.
That feels like lore or sway to me.
I think it's gonna be lore, as they like call a couple of the sages here to their back, and then pull out from their pack that wing that had the like etching the rune on it, and they start up this drone behind Kanta, and Kanta starts a sort of like high-pitched sort of melding in and out of the wind whipping through these buildings song, and as they do, like the light of this rune on the wing starts to glow, and ideally will start to resonate light with useful or interesting leavings.
Absolutely. Let's have you roll.
All right, so I'm here. I said lore, which is good. Yay! Those dice thing. Oh my, that is a 12.
Absolutely. So that will move it from a fail or a miss up to a 7 and 9. So that will, from the hunter's lore, give you 1 hold to ask one of those questions.
Yeah, and I think the one that makes the most sense, because I don't want to twist this, getting certain information out of this that you couldn't get out of it. What does it hunger for?
There's so much detritus here, and so much of the bones and things like that. It seems to be just consuming calories and more. Like it's getting hungry just for meat. Like it has no other real desire right now except to consume those calories and grow. It makes you worried about what that says about its ecosystem and its life cycle. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, it's good.
Actually, let's check in with Vaunt, and then let's come to Salvo. Vaunt, what are you up to during this?
I think Vaunt is really trying to get into a good position to really just observe the beast as best as possible. Out of character, trying to trigger the monster empath move. But, in character, I think Vaunt would be really, I think this is probably the closest he's been to it. I'm sure he's heard stories and has maybe seen it from afar.
Do you think that you'd need to climb up a bit, or would you head off a ways away to get a better vantage point in another part of the town?
I think he'd probably need to climb up a bit.
Then I think you're going to need to forge a path.
Okay. So also, when I make the quick character, was I supposed to add any stats other than the plus? It's either +1 lore or force.
Yes, you get a 1, 0, 0, and a -1. Good call.
Yeah, because that would matter. Okay. And then I am rolling plus
Force.
plus force. Okay, so that's an 8.
That is an 8. So on Forge a Path, you make the trip with a hit. You get up to the vantage point you want, but you have to pick 2 from the costs there.
I think the route I took is lost, and
Okay.
I think I also can't take gear or other characters with me.
So I think as people are talking, as they're looking around, we see Vaunt climbing up, and gets up to a perch a ways up, and Salvo, you see your scouts coming where they're like, "Hey," and you hear this crack, and you see some of the section that Vaunt used to climb up kind of peels away and crashes down to the ground. It isn't hugely loud, it doesn't echo, because that sound of that wind is so loud here. But Vaunt is kind of isolated up. He can only go upwards towards the nest rather than coming down. So we'll come back to you on that monster empath, Vaunt. Salvo.
All right.
A question for you, Salvo, before you have a weapon with you? That magical weapon. What does that weapon look like?
You mean the net?
I mean the experimental magical weapon that you have.
Oh. So it's essentially it's a blade, but it's got a trigger thing that I can push at something, and when I do, and it's only been demonstrated to me once, a barb shoots out of the blade, and then it starts vibrating, and in theory it should like pull itself deeper into the flesh of whatever it's been pushed into.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Perfect. For a second, I thought you had a gunblade, but
No, that I'm not that cool.
So what do you do, Salvo? You've got your scouts here. You've seen that Kanta and Amaranth have been going through the debris, the detritus down here. You hear the wind. You know that thing is up there. What do you do?
Yes, give me your Amaranth.
I'm asking you, Salvo.
Okay. I know that our scouts have been there ahead of time and laying, essentially, they've gone a little ways up and made it so that it's easier to ascend that first part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that essentially, we know that we can make that first part fairly easily. I have a real question though. So
Sure, absolutely.
can I do a research thing? As you said, it's very hungry. It's super hungry. Does it eat its own like the other condors if they're wounded?
That's a really interesting question here. Let's see. Let's see how we resolve that particular thing. Sorry, I'm checking since
You're looking up the condor cannibalism rule.
Cannibalism rules, yeah. How about we do unearth forgotten lore?
Okay.
Does that seem like a reasonable way to do that?
Sure.
Okay. And you took that. So what you will roll with is lore.
Okay. I think I gotta look at my character. Sorry.
Yep. You have a lore of 1.
Okay, good. So I'm gonna, ouch. Okay, so I rolled 11, so that gives me a 12.
Okay. You gain 1 secrets,
Okay, I'll take it.
and then you get to ask some questions. You can modify those from the unearthed forgotten lore. That is under peripheral moves, 3rd column on the basic moves tab.
Okay, well, how can I turn it to my advantage? So it's hunger. How can I turn its hunger to my advantage?
Yeah, definitely. Those condors are flying around it, but it definitely will eat its young. Will
Okay.
eat those, and in fact, part of it may be that it is drawing them in to provide a ready food source for it. So that's one answer there. Does that seem like a thing that'll help?
Yes, I think so. And then let's see here.
What?
I'm trying to think. What dangers is it hiding? I suppose.
It is hiding the fact that it actually has almost a tornado around it. It has a barrier. Right now the wind is not that high. You can tell that when it exerts its influence, it can create a wave of wind around it that will obscure it. Like fighting it will be super difficult close up because it is hard to see, and even at a range, it's hard to penetrate through that.
Okay. All right then. So I think that instead of trying to go up to it, we've got to bring it down here, and we've got to bring it down to a place where we can make turf to our advantage. So what
one more question.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's see here. Instead of wonder or I guess where is it drawing its power from to do all of these things?
The area itself is a magical conduit. It contains the shaping power of the city itself. What kindle remains of it burns brightly in this tower, and that is what is feeding it. It is feeding both on physical flesh and magical energies here. The being here is empowering it even further.
And Kanta, my dear cousin, gave me the role of anti-hero, and I think that makes it clear what sort of anti-hero I am, because I'm the one that's going to go and douse the spark in the dower.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You have as your agent role gives you something there.
It does? Okay.
Yes.
Gosh, someday I'll get some sense of what's going on here. All right. This is entirely my problem. So what does it give me? Mark and hold 1 when I search the wasteland to a solution to one of my problems. Spend the hold to say a relic you found would do the job if you bring it, if you could bring it back to them. Okay.
So that's the thing for future. I want to mark
All right.
that out for this. But you also have this magical weapon.
Right. I do. So when I get the chance to stab this thing, it will be awesome.
Okay.
So
let's do the conversation sort of in the aftermath of these discoveries, shall we?
yes.
We see that Vaunt is up there. Some of the scouts are like, should we go get him? Should we bring him down? But
Either way.
mostly they're concerned with themselves.
Yeah.
But Kanta and Amaranth and Salvo, you are together exchanging information. So let's zoom in on that scene. We'll zoom.
Okay.
So you're saying this thing, it's feeding off of the energy, the music, the vibrations that it's getting out of the structure.
Yeah, the old magics. I mean, it's what's keeping the structures structured.
The Silver Tongues, we have studied this place in the past. Perhaps there's something we could do about the power that it's drawing on, or at least try and affect this storm.
Yep. We need to get into the tower instead of on top of it.
There's no saving this place. There's no one coming back to rebuild this. Why not take the magic away from it for ourselves? And that will destroy its home. It will have nowhere to nest.
No, this place is sacred. This place, it holds memories and magics that this world will never see again.
Surely those are recorded in texts, manuscripts. If no one is going to rebuild these towers, why not simply take the magic from it?
You cannot write down, you cannot record the music of the wind, the chaos and shifting nature of everything that is flowing through here. There's no book that could hold that.
There's the past and then there's the future, cousin.
Anyway, whether we do it or not, the beast is a problem.
And she goes, this gives it power. I wish to take that power away from it. If you could find a way that I could turn it off for a short time, that is fine. But otherwise, we will have to destroy it or remove it. And since we know that these beasts are drawn to it, we know that wherever we take that power, they will be drawn.
This hunt is your responsibility, cousin, and I believe in the wisdom of you and your family. Just be careful in your hunt that you don't remove things that can't be replaced.
She nods and says, I will do my best.
We will get to work and see what we can do about the structure. And Kanta moves off to start talking with some of the sages.
Okay. Vaunt, you've up there in a good position. You've been observing this enormous condor, big beast up there. You probably felt the drippings of the water that it sloshes around up there. It's got that wind that howls and goes higher and then lower from time to time. What question do you want to ask?
I want to know, what can it sense that I can't?
It has in it a spark of the divine. Like, there's something weird about that. I mean, you know enough about the rituals and old ways of gods and things like that, and you have the sense that it is connected to that, to maybe to the fallen gods, maybe to the heavens and the stars itself, and that makes you very leery. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Let's come back to the ground. How are you dealing with this tower?
It's a structure and it's an older one. They will always, over time, show their seams, show as the ground underneath it has worn away, as the winds have hit it for so long, we can find a way in. I'm certain of it.
Okay. Anything? Let me get the sense of what Kanta and Amaranth are doing in this context.
So Kanta has positioned the sages around various those like dripping stalactites and like base structures for the towers that go up, places that are like pure metal and that they've found will resonate well. And they start doing that like droning, chanting sort of back of the throat multi-harmony thing just right up next to the metal, and are trying to work their way up to the frequency that will start like fighting against the push and the vibration of the wind and the magical vibrations that want to go through the structure.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that would be a diffuse for me or an under orders for them.
Let's have you do an under orders, because we haven't seen that yet.
Okay. So, group of followers perform a task within their specialty. They have worldly knowledge in meteorology, so I'm guessing this will be more pointed at like the effects of the storm rather than personal energy that it's drawing up.
I like that.
Roll their quality. 7 plus 2 is 9.
Okay. And what is the 9 result on
So,
orders?
On a 7 to 9, it's done, but choose one. I'm gonna go with it. It costs them. It drops their quality by 1, as like I think it takes a real sort of spiritual magical battle to start fighting against the vibrations of the structure.
They reach into that structure. They find those seams in the song, the resonance that's going through that, and focus just in on the chaotic song of the storm to reduce that. And up above, we will see that storm get like the winds were whipping around like a tornado, and we can see those dying out, and they have to concentrate, and they're exhausting themselves doing that. And then Amaranth and Salvo, you're trying to find a way into this tower.
Yeah. I'm just helping right now to get that done.
Okay. Then I think one of you, if you're just helping, then Salvo, I think you need to roll steel to find a path in.
Sorry, steel is both a stat and a verb. So I'm like, what? Okay. Let's see here. Very bad. So that gives us a 4.
Would you like my help?
I would very much like your help.
I haven't been rolling well.
This could be the time, though.
Just a warning. All right, let's see what I get here. A 12.
Look at you. So on a 7 to 9, you will be able to find a way in. We'll come and describe what that is in a second. But you lose something, someone in the group is hurt, or an obstacle or threat is blocking your way back.
Let's see here. Someone in the group is hurt. Or, geez, these are just no fun. I mean, they're fun. They're good story.
I wouldn't mind getting hurt.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That yeah, I think that we could say that. Let's say that it's just that it was at a horrible angle, and as we were trying to get the thing open, it fell back and caught you.
So like you've opened about like a crack that the door that kind of comes open in the side of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it will come crash across you, Amaranth, and your crackling fields. What do we see? How does that help mitigate some of that damage?
Yeah, we see that stuff kind of like scatter across me. Some of it hits, some of it kind of like gets deflected off of it. But I stagger back and then take a fall, and I'm kind of like pulling myself together. I'm definitely shaken up by it.
Absolutely. Go ahead and after armor, mark 2 harm.
Okay.
If there's 2 armor, or if there's 2 harm after armor, I have my mantle armor as well.
Oh, okay. So you can reduce that down to 1.
Yeah, I think there's just like flashes of light off of Kanta's robe as they're moving in behind you, and these like psychic sigils form in the air to block a couple of the parts of the door that are falling on you.
So how much does the field, the way I'm defended, how much does that give me? Does that give me 1?
So you would have. So you'd only take 1 harm then.
Okay.
And this door opens, and the 3 of you can go in. It's probably narrow enough. You don't want to bring the scouts or the sages, or the sages are dedicated to reducing the weathers. Do you want to have the scouts do something while this is going on? You're muted. Take a drink.
Sorry, it's also hard to use the mouse when the cat is sitting on the mouse. So,
we did try to get the cat out of there.
Yeah.
She was having it.
And she was having none of it. Yeah, she's all needles today. So, I think that what it is I have the scouts looking for some terrain that we want to see if we can draw the ancient to us. The Condor.
Thank you. That spells condor.
Yep.
Why don't you roll with their quality? The quality's a 2 because you upgraded them.
Okay. So that gives them an 8.
Okay, so you have to choose one of the things from under orders. They fall short in an aspect. There's unfortunate consequences, or it costs them and their quality drops by 1.
I think it costs them.
Okay.
Essentially what it is in order to do this and like get it secured, they actually have to lead. They have to split up, do some fighting, and then,
yeah.
I mean, it just gets.
Some of the smaller condors come down. You're trying to find like an area that has some covering that is more enclosed that you can restrict its movement in. And they end up, a few of them are wounded in the fighting, and but they do find a spot that if you can draw it down into there, you will have an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
What is Vaunt doing?
I think probably either trying to get into the tower or up the tower.
Yeah, let's have you forge a path.
Okay, so that is a 10.
Look at you. So you pick one from that.
Pick one. I think it probably takes longer than I expected.
So we will see you slowly making your way up the tower, trying to find a way in, not finding gaps up here, but getting closer and closer to that nest up above, until we see you, exhausted, but you can make your way into that nest, and you're not going to get buffeted back because the scholars below, the sages, have reduced the wind of it, and this thing is huge. It is 40, 50 feet tall at the shoulder of this thing. It is a winged beast with the crackling of the energy around it. It is changed, and there's still this wind, this stiff gusts that are breezing around it, and it is chewing on another one of these condors that got too close to it, that it pulled in with those winds, and it has not noticed you yet. Let's come to the three of you entering in. Let's set the stage. Patrick, when we come in, what's the first sort of thing that we see in the inside of this? What's the first obstacle that entering is for you three moving into this tower?
So I think what it is with the wind died down. Like there's still lots of birds moving around, so there's plenty of breeze. It's not silent, but this like web work, sort of like bits and pieces of bone and sinew that are holding on from carcasses past and just hanging everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They're now like this like sound minefield. Like it's with everything sort of still, any sort of clank against these bones is very audible.
So it echoes into the tower as you're moving through it. Each time it hits, there's that sound is amplified on the inside of this crystal tower as you're moving through here. Mm-hmm. Tell me, what is it that, and this is not a rolled thing, this is pure narrative. What is it that Amaranth does to help offset that obstacle, to help work the way through it?
Amaranth has lots of different skins from different beasts that he's hunted. He unravels some of those and wraps them one by one around some of the larger pieces that are kind of close together, so that if we pass them and they touch, their contact points will just kind of hit this soft material and they won't make as much noise.
Nice, kind of buffering it as you move along. You make your way further into this tower. It's kind of a labyrinth inside. What is the next obstacle or barrier that you have to overcome, Ari? What is the next thing that has to be gotten past?
We're inside of this tower, right?
Yeah.
And it's sort of crystalline, and
yeah,
we're probably following sort of like spiral stairs or something, right?
Okay.
There's a section that's collapsed.
Okay.
And there's a gap, and we're going to need to get across this gap.
And what does Salvo do? What is it you have that allows you to cross that gap? You just muted yourself.
Okay, sure. Let's see. What do we have? Well, we are hunters and stuff, and we are always moving through terrain that is not great. I assume that we have a set of poles of the light that are like, it would be your 10-foot pole, right? But it's actually telescoping and sort of forcibly telescoping. So it would probably be do 2 of those and then sling some more skins between those to kind of get across that length.
Perfect. Crawling up there, I imagine that for Salvo and for Amaranth, this is an easy task. I imagine it's not as easy for Kanta. Does Kanta still press on?
Yeah, we've got to. Like, we cannot afford to turn back, and I'm the only one still with them now. The sages are all behind.
Perfect. Salvo, Sherry, what is the last obstacle before you come to the heart of this thing?
It's a sort of perfect crystalline wall that you could see that there's a wall and another one inside of it. It's like a cylinder. It looks like it's like all we can see is the one portion of the cylinder, and you can see that there's the other cylinder in it kind of comes around, and each time it moves, and it sort of moves when it hears sounds, like when there's sounds, the other one moves as well. And it takes a while, but eventually you see both of them have sort of openings. If you could get the 2 to align here at this point, maybe that would work, but it takes some knowledge of what is making these move in certain directions.
And Kanta, how do you overcome this platforming puzzle?
It takes like 10 respawns in an hour and a half. No, I think as we're seeing like these openings pass by, Kanta is staring at the ground where they wipe away, and in the like crystalline stone floor there's etched runes and like magical workings that set this thing off, and so they start whistling in a sort of like warbling UFO sort of tone, and leaning in close to these runes so that their breath touches them, and the runes sort of light up one at a time, shifting from like a dull blue all the way up to like a bright shining light for the last one. And these rumbling sort of turning cylinders, one of them slows down just barely and one of them speeds up just a little bit until they're in this cycle where like every 30 or 45 seconds they line up long enough for someone to like dash through.
And the 3 of you will go through into this central chamber, into the heart of this thing, and you will see at the power source, the device that is there, and you will see this great glowing figure in the center of this thing, this god that fled the fall and inserted itself into the heart of this thing. And we'll come back to that in just a moment. Vaunt, what do you want to do?
I don't think Vaunt would want to try to take on the beast by himself. He's too old for that sort of thing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe you said he's kind of like inside now. So is there any way he can try to climb down to find where the others are?
Sure, you could try to forge a path.
A lot of forging for him.
Yes.
That is a 5.
That is a 5. So let me ask you this. There are 2 possibilities for what goes wrong here. One involves the condor itself. The other involves just the difficulty of the terrain which is it?
I think probably the condor.
Yeah, I think you will move. You will see a gap here in the base of the nest that seems to lead into the tower itself, and you will move with some care and caution. And as you get to there, you will realize that this thing is staring at you, and just one enormous talon comes down and smashes into you. You have armor because that's the gear up from the order, but you're still going to take 2 harm. And it has you in its pinions. And it's kind of lifting you up to look and see what this mouse is that has come into its nest. We'll come back to you in just a second. All right. You 3, you have found the device that lies at the heart of this thing. You have found the relic, this essentially phylactery, for want of a better word, for a god. Do you want to break it?
Can we take it?
We could certainly try.
Breaking is just so very permanent. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, that was the cat, not me. So essentially, my agent thing is, essentially I could bring that relic back to my people, right? And we know that it would attract these ancients. So I think it would,
yeah. If you can get it back, it will help solve a problem you have.
exactly.
I think though, to get it out, to get it to work, do what you want it to do, you're going to have to unleash power.
Okay.
So roll with lore.
Okay, and this thing is, as I understand it, we have treaty. Can you use treaty for these roles?
No, you
Okay,
can use secrets to give yourself advantage on the roll.
I did get that one secret when I rolled really well, so I will.
Good, because that will offset this disadvantage, because this is what was wrong in Patrick's thing earlier.
Oh, okay.
It is not the elf that has done it. It is this god that has done this.
Okay. Good.
I meant to check when the sages were doing the storm thing. I forgot to check on it there, but yeah.
And technically I should have given you advantage on that roll. So you will be at a straight 2d6 plus your lore to roll. Now you have allies with you. They can help if you don't get what you want.
But I rolled a 10. That gives me an 11.
So pick 3 from the Unleash the Power.
The relic does exactly what I wanted.
Okay.
The relic can be used again.
Okay.
And I don't rouse other relics in my environment. I will take on this.
All right. Then I think you will reach. Tell me what you have to do to remove this phylactery to break the thing, to take it with you.
It's really sort of like, the thing about the phylactery is it's a power source, right? It is very thing, and it has it's sort of like the power gathers and bubbles up out of it, and it follows whatever, like it keeps itself aligned to whatever takes that power. So she realizes that all she has to do is accept that power bubbling through. Does that make any sense? And become the thing it aligns to, and then it just kind of like it's no problem to carry it at that point.
Perfect. I think you get this. Break it. You break some of that power to essentially reduce this giant thing to still a giant beast, but a more mundane threat.
Mm-hmm.
And you will have this phylactery, and you three see this. And simultaneously, all three of you will realize that this is what was keeping the tower intact. And you will hear as this thing begins to shake and crumble and give way. You know, we see that this whole thing, you know, the camera is doing this kind of shake, and it starts to go. So since you lifted this up, I want to hear how Kanta and Amaranth get you guys out of there. Who's first?
I think first is Kanta, who this whole place starts to shake and fall apart. And they just open their mouth like wide enough that you can see like their chin poking out below the mask, just wide open mouth, and starts wailing in this high-pitched piercing tone that you quickly realize is like some of the sounds that the wind was making whipping through here. And I think as they do, the crystal under our feet, and as they turn towards the way we came in, a sort of like path solidifies and isn't quite breaking up as fast as the things around it in front of us.
And then Amaranth, how are you taking advantage of that to get the group out? Now, I'm going to tell you right now, you could get yourself out, no roll, no problem. If you want to get the others out, there's going to be a roll.
Yeah. So can I use the secret to bump up my roll? Is that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can spend a secret to give yourself advantage.
So I am going to help everyone get out. I'm going to spend the secret, and the secret is that I know my family knows some little bits about how these crystal towers are built, the architecture.
Mm-hmm.
I know that if I destroy, I know this sounds kind of crazy, but if I destroy parts of it as it's collapsing, I can create points of egress that could get us out of here quicker. It's a little bit risky, but
awesome. So let's have you roll with advantage. Roll force. You have a slightly limited set on the Forge a Path, but let's have you roll. Essentially, there are two possibilities: is exposed to danger and can't take gear or other characters. So let's see it.
I'm sorry, is this Forge a Path that I'm doing?
Forge a Path. Roll with force with advantage.
All right, so that extra die, is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see what I get. It's a 9. Oh, sorry, I should have rolled an additional die. I'll leave those out, and I'll just roll one more. Okay, so yeah, it's a 9 plus 1. It's a 10.
Look at that. So you have a choice here. You can suffer harm, or you can leave one of them behind.
I don't want to leave any character behind unless the player here would like to be left behind, finds that an interesting possibility.
Hearing
So yeah, I'll take the harm.
So I think once again, we'll see parts of that building crashing down, and we see it bounce off your mantle, your armor, and the armor from Kanta, and you're going to take another level of harm.
Okay.
Vaunt, this thing has you. It's just picked you up, and it is about to like put you in its craw, and then it staggers back, and you hear this shattering, and you realize that the building is giving way. The whole tower that you're on is giving way. What do you do?
So it's still got me, correct?
Yep.
Can I try to use my beast climbing gear to almost mount the beast?
Oh yeah.
So
Oh,
I figure
that's great.
falling down is bad, so I might as well just hitch my ride.
Yeah, I think that's diffuse and roll with lore.
That is an 11.
Look at you. What do we see on screen from Vaunt? Vaunt, what happens?
Yeah, I think like as the building starts to collapse, it sort of loosens the grip on me, and I just throw like the beast climbing gear like almost like a grappling hook or something like over and around, and just basically turn it into a harness and just hitch my ride to its back.
And it will fly down. It catches what it can of the thermals, and the scouts have done that thing where they've kind of set up like flashings of light to draw this thing, and it desperately flies and angles down into this kind of enclosed area. Essentially, it's got a kind of cover and a side. It's open on one side, and it flies down, and the scouts are like, they're staring at you like, holy shit. That you rode this thing down. You didn't have anybody else with you, and they are they're there like get over here, and they're trying to set up their nets and things to pen this thing in. Salvo, Kanta, Amaranth, you pour out of this building as it comes down. You can see that the beast has been somewhat penned in. Off to the side. They've got it set. Sherry, would Salvo like to use her experimental magic weapon?
Yes, she very much would.
Okay, so tell me what we see on screen. Building coming down behind you, this screeching thing. You see Vaunts on this thing. Holy
I know.
cow.
But that's like the most exciting thing. I think that what I do is I do the same thing. I sort of reach my my gear up and shoot it off with the crossbow so that it catches on, and I'm essentially reeling up as it's going in. So I come in right behind and I run, essentially up the length of it and jam this thing into it.
Absolutely. So you may roll fiercely assault with lore instead of force. Or you can still, so it's the same thing, but.
And it says, okay, sure, let's try that. Come on, dices. I rolled an 11 plus 1 is a 12.
All right. On a 10 plus, you choose 2 from the character list, and the GM chooses 1.
Let's see here. I inflict savage, terrifying harm, frightening and dismaying the foe, and I get information from my foes. So
Okay.
I'll take the +1 data.
So +1 secrets. So Vaunt, you're hanging on there as you see Salvo come flying up as in midair, fires off this lightning net. I assume you get clear, Vaunt.
Yeah.
So the scouts kind of catch you as you jump off or swing off from this, and this lightning net lights this thing up. It just, the crackle of magical lightning arcs across this, smells just the smell of burnt feathers and flesh, and it's a huge thing, and it staggers. You're going to take 2 harm there, Salvo.
Okay, I only have defense against the animals' attacks, not against other things. So
Okay. So yeah, you will smash into that, and I don't think that the other's mantle can assist you because you didn't choose the avenue of escape is clear.
I know. But
So I think you will take the full of it, but there will be this staggers back, and then this thing crashes to the ground dead.
Oh.
And even outside, we can hear the sound of those condors that were circling, dispersing, the screeches as they head off in all directions, flying and scattering away. What do we see on screen Kanta doing?
Well, first of all, to be clear, the other reason why that mantle didn't help is Kanta did not run along a giant condor with you. You were totally on your own on that. But Kanta goes to finally, once it falls and we're out, their mouth closes and that whale stops, and they go to collect the sages and sort of break them out of the trance that they've worked themselves into to stop their song. And the group of them are just like panting and drained, and I think the sages can't really talk, and Kanta is like hoarse and very quiet as we leave.
What about from Amaranth?
Yeah, Amaranth is pretty shaken up from all the injuries he's taken, but he looks to Salvo and says, "Salvo, will you help me? I can't go back empty-handed, and I'm getting my tools out, and I'm trying to cut away some talons from this creature to take back as a sign that it was defeated, possibly be used for alchemy."
Yeah, and I think she has no problem with you taking any of the organs or whatever. So is one of the things is that the spears like descend on this to start with the butchering almost immediately. So she'll say, whatever you call for, you'll get those pieces.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry, if there's something valuable about this creature that I could find in particular, that's something I definitely would want to take back.
Yeah, what is it? What is the most valuable thing that you can take here?
What's that thing that birds, it's called a gizzard, that in your stomach? Maybe in this particular creature, that's very valuable. Maybe it collects special minerals and things like that.
It had divine power running through it, so it's probably collected some of that.
Yeah, so I'm looking for that pouch.
You will get that. And Vaunt, the scouts hand you a skinning knife to give you pride of first cut for their part of it, and they're laughing because they were on the way up here probably like, why is this old guy coming along?
Yeah, I think especially, they definitely doubted him as Vaunt was just climbing up on his own, letting everything fall as he goes. So yeah, Vaunt definitely takes, the first cut, just starts carving up the bird. And, I think as the others come down, he's turning to them. He's like, well, I think there was something divine about this place and about this bird, but I guess that's a problem for another day, huh?
And we will zoom out from there. I think that's the end of that scene. Robert, you get to, when we zoom out, we get to have you, your character gets to pick something that has happened. You found a new place in your family. You can change your role, which would give you an advance. You went scavenging in the wasteland. You could add a magic to your family's stock. You could scout for information that could give you a new surplus, or remove a need, and get a data. You can gain a treaty on another family, or you can discover a new danger. What do you think?
Let's see. I'm thinking I want to discover a new danger.
Ooh.
Because, it's not nearly dangerous enough out there yet.
Okay. So what kind of danger are we talking here?
I think. I think the new danger is there's like a almost permanent storm that has descended over part of the land.
Oh, okay.
And I think maybe it's even like people are thinking that it's come from the mouth of Ash, but nobody is really for sure. But yeah, I think it's kind of in between the Spectral Pass and the mouth of Ash.
Okay.
There's this almost permanent storm, but it almost does seem to be moving a little bit, but it stays constant.
Right. So we'll have you mark that on the map, and we'll take up there next time. Except we'll probably do a quick the age turns. We can decide exactly how much forward we move. If it's a year or two, or if it's longer, we can choose that. Just so we get a sense of how that mechanic works, and we can play with that. And then we'll go to some family moves. Does that seem fair? Okay.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
The gizzard that I collected, is that more just ceremonial, or does that affect my resources? Or
Let's see what you've got here. It says, I think that you could use that to remove a need or add a surplus.
let's remove the need for morale. Maybe this is something we haven't hunted in a long time, and this
Absolutely
makes a change in the mood of our people.
Good. That helps offset that for when we do the age turning.
Cool.
And Sherry,
Mm-hmm.
you got the first blood.
Yep.
So you can take either +1 to your what is that? Is it? Did I look at the thing? Wrong character sheet. +1 to your sway or steal.
I think, and this is going to sound weird, but I think that because the thing that I've brought back is so powerful that it's bigger than me, and it becomes like a thing that there are people who are angry because I took it, and there are people, and in the other families and in my own family, and there are people who are drawn to it and all of those things. But I'm the least important person about that, except that I'm named as the person that took it. But I have no voice in how it's handled or anything, so I don't think I'm going to take sway. I probably will take the steal.
Okay.
Because I think that makes sense that this thing was just way bigger than me.
And what problem does it solve? Does it eliminate one of your needs?
What are some of the other kinds of problems it could solve?
You could put a danger out of touch. Man, it'd have to tell me what you think would be the kind of thing. I mean, the obvious mechanical thing is to remove a need.
Yeah. Okay.
Or add a surplus.
Okay. Well, let's see here. How about we add a surplus, and what we get is we get rid of a need, and that would be prestige. Because we did take care of this, and we took care of at least a thing that was powering these horrible creatures.
Okay. And then Patrick, with your profit roll, it seems to me like you've made a big discovery, right? I think we could do the same sort of thing. We can have that add a surplus or remove a need from you, or something else if there's something you want.
I was tempted by something else. Something else is so pretty, but I went into this to try and fix our bad name with the spears, and so I think I'm going to remove our prestige need.
Perfect. So that helps because mood is the base thing for when the age turns. we'll do that roll at the start of things, and we'll kind of narrate and walk through that. The book has some listen on it. The other thing you'll get to come up with is if you want to come up with a festival that your group has come up with in the meantime. That's a thing from the Engine of Life source book. So that is our session. We'll take up next time. We're going to definitely try through the course of this to get focus on each character, that each character gets one time where they're the center point of the thing as kind of the lead dealing with the problem. So we'll kind of try and rotate through that. We will hold off on Roses and Thorns since we'll run up right against time, but we'll definitely do that at the next time, if that's okay.
Cool.
Con Air. Thank you for that pun there. That was delightful. All right, I'm going to stop the live stream.